What's up again, guys? Yeah, it's me, your friendly neighborhood Dovahkiin, and welcome back to Let's Play Divinity Original Sin 2. And before we begin, be sure to hit on the subscribe button for more great videos. Okay, in the previous episode, we've reached level 20, and I said that the next set of vids will be a sub-arc on my final builds. So, like with my initial build arc, let's start with red. By the way, for the entirety of those old build episodes, I kept saying that nothing is written in stone, and all my builds will depend on endgame gear and stats. Anyway, my former level cap projection was at 26, but the planners that I used that time were already updated for Definitive Edition, and this is the classic version. And in this old version, the optimal endgame level is in the early 20s. But it doesn't matter if I face the final battle at level 21 or so, cause at this point, I figured out the stats that will remain static till the end, therefore providing me enough data to finalize my builds, even at just level 20. Alright, so what are these static endgame stats? These are your secondary attributes, namely Con, Memory, and Wits. First on Memory. This depends on how many slots you're comfortable working with. As per Red, 27 slots is my magic number. By the way, besides from directly increasing slots by memory points, you also gain 1 slot per 2 levels on top of that. So if in case I reach level 22, I will reduce Red's memory down to 23 and move that point to SDR instead, his only primary attribute. But be clear, though I moved a point, his slots will remain at 27. Next is Constitution. My personal cap is 32, and without gear and the Picture of Health talent bonuses, that only equates to nearly 4.5k vitality. But of course, as you can see, with the bonuses, that's nearly 10k HP, which I'm comfortable with cause he's my tank. So, my entire squad's con are based on him, his being the highest. My personal formula, which I use not only in gaming but in graphics design and in life, is based on 100% continuously divided by 2, which in this case starts at minus 12.5% and simply doubled then tripled. As per Wits, I apply the same principle, but it's not entirely based on crit chance anymore, cause there are a lot of ways to boost that in battle. The arrangement of my squad's wits is now primarily influenced by initiative, cause generally in most fights I want my main to get the first turn, then Fane, Red, and lastly Sybil. So my main's wits, being the highest at 24, is the basis for others. Okay, before I talk about abilities and talents, let's touch on gear. I've been very vocal about my use of the Crafting Overhaul mod, and since episode 7, the first in my 2-part vid on crafting, I've used the same crafted unique armor sets for all my tunes. No shite, cause they can be rescaled with gold bars to match your level. And you can also enchant them to add extra effects, like skills, which I'll show later. But these enchantments require a lot of expensive resources, so I only rescale and re-enchant my sets every 4 levels. However, don't get me wrong, these crafted gear are not as OP as you might think, cause they are just in par with vanilla divine items, and actually, some divines are far better. I stuck with them cause besides being themed sets, which look magnificent by the way, the appearance of my tunes have become iconic and recognizable in my vids. Somehow I think that my tunes have grown a sense of identity into you, my viewers. Alright, now on combat and civil abilities. As you can see here, like with attributes, I didn't deviate much on all my tunes as a matter of fact, from my initial builds. Red is still a morphing two-handed fighter, and though I retain the single base point in Geomancer, the other 2 points coming from Gear by the way, and he has a couple of skills under that school, it's all about the effects and not the damage. Specifically, Impalement's Oil Surface and Cripple, and Earthquake's Knockdown. So, no need to boost Int at all. Again, I focused all his real base points on Polymorph, Two-Handed, and Warfare. All other points are just gear bonuses. On a side note, don't use gear with bonuses on Polymorph, cause it's not a real base point and will not give you a bonus point on attributes. As per civil abilities on the other hand, he's still my Merchant Haggler, Item Identifier, and Enemy Examiner. Okay, now on talents, which is quite interesting. Setting aside Sophisticated, Spell Song, Spider's Kiss, and Trade Secrets, at level 20, I should only have 5 talent points, but here I have 7. So where did the other 2 come from? First, remember in the same build episode 3, I mentioned that I'm using the free Pet Pal mod, which gives all my tunes an extra point on Pet Pal. For my main, I retained it, but for Red here and the rest of the squad, I simply swapped it for something else. Now on the last point, which is on Sidewinder. This is not an actual point, but rather a gear bonus. To be exact, Red's crafted unique pants. And as you can see, the effect is amazing. However, this should neither work nor even exist in this game, as it is a talent from Original Sin 1. Perhaps a remnant when crafting Overhaul was being coded, but somehow I think it does work. Alright, I did show a part of this earlier, but finally we move on to skills and items. And it's not about having these specific skills memorized, because you should always adapt for any situation, but instead the number of slots you're comfortable with. Anyhow, obviously except for Resurrection, I don't use scrolls, because for me, they're just clutter. And to organize things, all my pots are in a bag. Furthermore, I only use 2 hotbars, and the second one is for my innate, source, and item skills and ammo. By the way, if you're wondering why I have 2 spirit visions, the other one is just for turning it off, because I'm also using the toggleable spirit vision mod, which I featured back in episode 20. And as per ammo, as I've stated in my initial builds, Red and Sibyl are grenadiers as well, but the types they carry are distinct from one another. Anyway, as per tags, my Red, as you know, is an origin tune, so we don't need to go there at all. So there you go, Super Red, the spouse of the sun, and the morphing, two-handed fighter. Okay, now we're here in the schoolyard, which I featured in my previous vid to be a potential encounter spot of Nemesis demons. But I already decimated them near the consulate, so the encounter here won't exist. Anyway, would you believe that kitchen boss Griff, the gang lord slash drug dealer that I killed back in Act 1, was a school teacher? Yes, And whatever happens, don't tell his wife Beryl that you whacked his tyrannical ass and for joy. Just go along with remembering him as a good guy. To get her quest, School's Out, which requires you to get rid of squatting addicts.
I've had just about enough of it. Oh, 1,000 apologies. I'm just at wit's end is all. This place is already overrun with addicts and orphans, and now I've got to deal with... what? A vagrant creeper?
The woman shakes her head and sighs.
I should stop caring so much, but the kids shouldn't suffer. They don't deserve this void-infested hellhole we're handing to them. What is it? Or what was it? Two different things, you know. Used to be a school. My husband Griff and I, we taught the local kids what we could. History, politics, writing, reading, a little cooking, a little alchemy. The parents paid what they could. It was enough. Then the Void Woken came, and the Magisters took Griff away to Fort Joy. Said he was luring the monsters in, like my sweet Griff would ever do such a thing. Now it's this. I'm stuck scrubbing Lady Kem's filthy floors in exchange for coin most days. And I don't have the energy to shoo away the junkies that wander in. You know him? Was he holding up okay? That sounds like Griff, all right. I'm telling you, if he were here, he'd have this place cleaned up in no time. If the squatters were gone, I could start fresh. Scour the place down, get the school going again. Get out from under Lady Kem's posh thumb. Well, I wouldn't refuse your help. If Griff can't be here, maybe you're the next best thing.
Beryl hums a few random notes, just a few, but in those notes you discern a crumb of hope.
By the way, this is one of the few episodes in my series without a fight. Unfortunately, I must not force attack / tukhang them, which for so long I've been using as a meme in my vids. On a side note, here in the Philippines, Operation Tukhang is a part of President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs. And as opposed to international opinion and allegations of human rights violations, from a local perspective, I tell you, most Filipinos support this, and we are now very satisfied because society is becoming significantly safer. But enough with the politics, though I carry on with the meme's context. It's just so sad that I can't f***ing tukhang these drug addicts. Rather deal with them via boring persuasion.
Well, school's out, I dare say.
He will guide us there to the Star Hall. The folk can carry you.
I'm telling you, they're just jealous. They shouldn't be complaining, they should be celebrating. A thief that can steal from the Thieves Guild. I should be their queen. You got a brain, yeah? You understand words? It's a group of kids that steal stuff. Ain't all that complicated. At least not for smart people. Kick me out though. All because I took some stupid plate from the stash. I was just trying to show them I could, I swear. Look, they may not want me around anymore, but I'm no snitch. Yeah, you know what? You're right. What'd they ever do for me anyway?
She points to the Thieves Guild's location on your map and rubs her palms together.
Besides, you're bound to stir up some trouble over there. That'll be good fun.
But Lucian makes the hours wide green. Look over there, shiny light. Do you see them? The mist steps. Each one is an echo of Lucian's dreams. Pray be his. They lead through the silver puffs and into the hall.
She bows towards nothing in particular and fingers the collar of her priestly garb, then looks at you with dark, sunken eyes. She traces a circle on the floor with her left foot, then shakes her head. You're stymied by the foot gesture, but the head shake is more than clear.
Yes. I hear the breeze, but I can't feel it on my hand skin. I must go and sleep. If Lucian wills it, he will wait. Stars should twinkle as Lucian commanded them. Come, fireflies, he calls us elsewhere. So, how's the addict eviction going? Is that... wait, really? They're gone? That's good news. Maybe our hard work wasn't all for nothing then. Is there anything I can do to show my thanks? Well, it might not seem like much, but Griff's research into runes proved valuable from time to time. He took copious notes. Perhaps they'll be of interest to you. Anyway, you've certainly been a breath of fresh air. You're no Griff, but it's been good having you around.
Alright, if you haven't crafted runes yet, Griff's book will be handy. By the way, the other reward that I didn't pick is info on Lord Kem's very private bedchamber, which is already obvious cause it's the name of the quest, the Vault of Linder Kem. Anyhow, the girl Trina marked on my map the passage to the Thieves Guild. This is another reference, right? The sewers, cistern, the ragged flagon of Riften, you know, home of the Thieves Guild in Skyrim. Anyway, the next episode is gonna be about my final build on Sibyl, so stay tuned in. And that's all there is for now. Thanks for watching. Also, check out other videos from Sabbath Band Philippines and subscribe. See you on my next vid. Peace out.